The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
And when I started running, I suppose I didn't stop, and when I got the chance to go, I said I should go, and so I opened up.
We're only the small little fish out there, so we are, and we're trying hard to make it through. But it's hard to get the breaks when you're the smaller fish.
Because I love this county so much, you know, and it's just, I'm delighted that the lads did it for the people of Waterford today, because like I'm heartbroken.
The football's all about Corofin, the hurling's all about Ballyhale Shamrocks. What a bloody team. Like, I mean, an absolute demolition job, which the writing was on the wall after the first bloody 5 minutes, really. There's no point in saying anything else. Michael Carton's in studio and Brian is on the phone. So I'll go to you first, Michael. Like, I mean, this is a super club. So they've won 7 All-Ireland clubs. They've only been in 8 finals. They've only lost 1 final, which is an incredible achievement.
It's an incredible record, Willie, and I've seen this TJ's fourth club All-Ireland Championship, and he's 7 All-Irelands, and just the experience on the team for Ballyhale yesterday was incredible. I seen like an interview with TJ this morning, and he was speaking about the young lads in the team and what Henry's brought to it as a manager, and the freshness in that management, and the communication, and how he had them playing, and the short balls around the middle, and then going long when they knew they needed it. And just the way they played was just so clinical yesterday. They were brilliant to watch.
Yeah, they have a nice style of hurling, don't they, Brian? I saw Eddie Brennan commenting on that. It's simple, yet it's very effective.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mix, actually. They're able to go direct, obviously, with the likes of Colin Fennelly on the edge of the square, and they've ball winners all over the field. The one thing, there was a couple of times that impressed me was even the likes of Owen Cody, only a young man, 17, 18, and snapping balls out of the air over his man, turning it over the bar there in the first half in particular. One reading out the corners has to do the same. So they are able to go direct, which obviously is a Kilkenny trait down through the years. But they were particularly well able to use the ball, particularly in the half-back line and midfield, short and snap passes to hand and then be able to deliver long. So I think that was most impressive. But the big men stood up again. For long periods, TJ and Michael Fennelly didn't need to, because they were dominant in all the positions. So it was amazing that, 2 of the real go-to guys were actually quiet for long stretches of that game. But look, TJ still a class act too, still got 4 points in play. And what we'd say, even a quiet day for him. Yeah,
that was it. Incredible. Like, I mean, look, they've got match winners all over, and like Adrian Mullet, we'll talk about some of them in performance of the weekend. Henry was interviewed before the game, and this is a beautiful thing. Like, I mean, and it needs to be stressed, the achievement for this club, which is not a huge. It's not a huge club. It's like their numbers are not absolutely massive. But Henry was interviewed before the game, and he said last time that he played there, I'm paraphrasing now, was in 2010. And 10 of the panel were involved in the under-12 game that day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's rural clubs, and the ability to keep the young lads going to senior, like that's quite a number to still be involved that were there that day. Like in big town clubs, they're gone. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it is rural clubs, and well, sure, I'll actually go to you, Brian, on this one, because you're from a rural club, but I won't ask this city slicker. He's got too many distractions up here in Dublin. But that's it. But it's the ability to keep them all together, Brian.
Yeah, well, look, it's the truth, and obviously we see it firsthand here as well. We get every possible person we can hurling at 7 and 8 years of age, and we need them all really for a team at that underage. So we don't compete, and it's the same at Ballyhale. They don't overly win a huge amount at underage. They'll crop up a title now and again, but they tend to get stronger as the years go on towards minor and 21, and we saw that. They won under 21 last year in Kilkenny too, so that backboned a lot of these younger players that came through. But it is the beauty of I suppose rural Ireland and rural clubs, that we tend to we tend to hold on to as many players as we can. But very important on a social context then as well. It is the hurling or maybe football in rural clubs that keeps people in the area too, because if it wasn't for that, we would have that drain and everyone moving either to Dublin or abroad. So we can't underestimate the power of GAA from that perspective, and it's hugely important for these rural places. And we often say it's like a religion, or even more important even. And we live for it in these rural areas. So it's great. It's great to hear even Michael Fennelly after talk about, a couple of pitches, that's all we have, modest resources. And it's the truth, because all the money in the world, it doesn't buy you the basics of the game and that will to win and that the graw for hurling. So I love seeing stories like that. But you're dead right when you're eulogising about this club, because it is a phenomenal record. They're up there now. They're clearly out on their own. You know, we have our both neighbours here, Burr and Bertumna. There's only 20 minutes between them, and you know, they're on 4 titles each, and they're 2 fantastic clubs as well. So Ballyhale, the ability to turn over, it's probably 3 different teams they've gone through now, and you know, it's phenomenal, really.
Phenomenal to keep coming back, yeah. So Michael Fennelly, his speech was fantastic, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
Bit of personality. He had the guard lifting the cup, and like, I mean, it went straight away. I was thinking, geez, Michael Fennelly's really enjoying this.
Yeah.
He's really embracing this moment, and like, I often think, why on earth do you have to go up there and just list off a few thank yous? Like, I mean, what are you about? What's your club about? Tell us something. Be yourself. And you never see them being themselves a lot. And it made me remember back to 2009 when poor Michael Fennelly was captain of Kilkenny and he couldn't make the team. He was nominated from Ballyhale, and I'd say Michael Fennelly just decided, if we win, I'm just going to go up now and I'm going to really enjoy this, because he told me before on this show that he hated being captain that year because he wasn't sure of his place and he was insecure and all those kind of things. Whereas he went up on Sunday as a leader and a captain and centre back and went up and just enjoyed himself. And I am actually on the side that I'd like to see speeches done away with if they're going to continue to be as bloody boring as they are. But like, when you see Michael Fennelly, you say, geez, that's a lovely way to finish off what was a brilliant day for Ballyhale.
Yeah, there was no three cheers for the officials.
Yeah.
I seen the tweet after, but no, it's brilliant. It showed a bit of personality, and he showed how much he loves the parish. And my fear, like, he's such a smashing hurler, and you know, injuries have plagued him throughout his career. Like, you know, and I think he doesn't know if he'd be back there, you know, injury wise and playing wise and his age. So I think he looked like a man who just really enjoyed it. Well, you're dead right. Like,
yeah.
And as Brian said, he wasn't at the fore for most of the game yesterday, but he got just some important tackles, and he's that ever presence in the centre back, and it's great to see. And like, you know, as you're watching it, like, everyone it's endearing to watch, you know, because it means so much to him. And I just thought it was great. He showed loads of personality. You're dead right.
Yeah, no,
more speeches should be like that.
I think so, Brian. Like, I mean, where are you with these captain speeches? Like, I mean, the backroom teams are so big now that by the time you finish thanking everyone's like, Jesus, get me out of here. This is terrible stuff. They're not broadcastable usually. It's like, let's just move on. Let's see him lifting the cup and then just cut off, because what's the point? But just, like, I mean, why can't more be like Michael Fennelly?
Yeah, it's a couple of things there. I agree with you, you know, especially in the counties, as you said, the backroom teams are so massive, it's impossible. But from Michael Fennelly's perspective, I think Michael touched on it there, you know, you just don't know from his own perspective if he'll get an opportunity to get back there again. I think a little bit of maturity coming into play there as well. Obviously, his wife had a baby boy, Leslie had a baby boy a couple of weeks ago, and you know, I suppose it makes you appreciate the game an awful lot more, and you know, those sort of things. And especially they went through a tragedy in Ballyhale as well. So sometimes you just got to take stock of the whole thing, and you know, it can carry you forward and just, you know, revel in the moment and don't be worried about how people think, I suppose, as much, because it's a game that we obviously put our lives into, but it's also there to be enjoyed. And the one thing about Ballyhale, you know, they'll go off and they'll be on the Monday club and today, and it's great, and isn't that what it's all about? You know, that spending time with your you know, friends and family and going on the Raz after a big win like that, because you have to enjoy it. What's the point in sacrificing everything for so many, you know, months and years even, finally climb Mount Everest and then just kind of, oh no, we're going to be very professional here and very clinical and we won't let down our guard.
Yeah.
He posted a picture this morning, actually, Michael Fennelly, of looking out at the neighbours milking the cows, the Reid family. You know, it's just, you know, it's a different world, you know.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But like, I mean, yeah, that's
for you anyway.
It is for me. That's right. I've seen horses out in the fields in Dublin, never cows.
What do you make of this Fintan Burke thing, Michael? Like, this was cruel on a player. Like, I mean, this looked like a very, very serious injury.
Yeah.
In what era did they think that they're at, that you can go in and strap an injury like that? And like, the game was gone away from him at that stage.
And
anyways.
the man he was marking.
And the man he's on Colin Fennelly. And this is a fella who potentially wants to play for Galway this year. Yeah. Jesus, get him off the fucking field.
Definitely. It obviously shows how important he is to them, you know. But like in Crow Park and your full back, you're isolated there, Willie, on the fella who's playing absolute stormer of a game.
Yeah.
So unfair on him, you know. And he's seen how upset he was coming off the pitch and how much it meant to him to be out there. And he could have been saying to the physio as well, don't take me off, don't
No,
take me
I'd
off.
say he definitely was, but that's not his decision.
And it's not. And as a manager, you're saying, even for his future, you know, how much damage do you do staying on for an extra 5 or 10 minutes on such a bad injury, if it does turn out to be that bad, you know. But I felt very, very sorry for him, you know, such a big day and so hard to get there. But it was definitely the wrong call from the manager, because you have to take that out, take that decision away from the player, because most players are going to try and stay on no matter what.
Most will, like, I mean, and he shouldn't. But Jesus, it's so many years, Brian, since you've seen something like that coming in, putting on a temporary quick strap. Like, the game has moved on so far past that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it was almost like the Sarri and Kepa incident, but not quite as in your face. No, I did. Look, to be fair, I think it's a measure of the man that Fintan Burke is too, that he just didn't want to come off, and maybe thought himself, you know, after the initial pain hit, that, oh no, I'm okay. But that should have been taken over time. I think the physio really should have made that call, and management between them, and just said, look, you know, appreciate what you're trying to do here for your club, and, you know, but, you know, you're going to have to come off. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, because as you said, the long-term damage that could do is huge. And he has steadied it up a little bit when he went into full back as well. Finally was on fire. But, you know, it was unfortunate for him. You know, you feel really sorry for that, and you see him go off in tears then afterwards.
Yeah.
You know,
and Henry,
Shefflin,
it was nice,
went straight over to him afterwards.
Yeah.
So, you know, that shows the measure the men that Henry is as well, and you know, great sports people, you know.
Well, it absolutely does, and sure, Henry obviously has his own experiences in All-Ireland finals with that kind of thing, so it was a lovely thing to see him. He caught him out of the corner of his eye after congratulating the management, and went straight over to him, and I'd say Fintan Burke would absolutely appreciate Shefflin doing that.
And as you said, well, you knew the second he pulled up, you know, when some players pull up, you knew it was a bad.
It looks
injury.
crucial.
It definitely looked so bad because the way he pulled up. So I was shocked to see him so heavily strapped down, but hopefully he's all right.
Well, there's a whole load of these lads will go in anyways. I don't want to stay too long on this because we've a whole load to get through. I think there's 7 lads. The 2 Mullins will go in, Evan Shefflin will go in, and then you've got your big names. Then you've your Reid, you've your Colin Fennelly, you've your Joey Holden. Is there anybody else going in there?
No.
Young Cody is probably
too
anybody else?
Young. No, you've nailed them there. Like Adrian and Darren Mullen were excellent, and Brian Butler looks really good in the corner. He's quite a young player as well. But like Adrian Mullen was a standout for me, because just the scores he was taking from both sides, coming in off both wings, looked so confident on the ball.
Hold off on him now, because I want to save. I want to save him.
Well, he just a standout, you know. But and Colin Fennelly as well. He looked bigger than normally. Actually, I've marked Colin over the years, and he's a super hurler. But if you start getting the better of him early on, sometimes he's a real confidence hurler, you know. But yesterday he was just unmarkable, because it's either foul him or let him score, and there was no option, because he was so good yesterday. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can carry that on now to Kilkenny this year.
Definitely will. He's all that rest he's getting in the army, you see. He's taking it nice and easy.
I'm not going into that.
Right, so listen, lads, Division 1B is where it's at. So we've got our league quarter-finals, and we have all the Division 1Bs except for Limerick, who beat Laois. Like, I mean, that was the most obvious result. The other 3, so you have Dublin winning, you have Waterford winning, and you have Galway winning. And I don't know what the hell, I'm not even going to analyse the anomaly of this 1B beating the 1A, because the other years you were like, oh, well, it's too competitive in 1A, and now it's the least competitive 1A we've ever had, and there's still all 3 of them lose. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. So we have a double header in Nolan Park next Sunday. So Dublin play Limerick, and we have Galway against Waterford. So we have 2 excellent competitive semi-finals, and finally we can start reading something into these games, lads, because surely to Christ every team wants to win quarter-finals and every team wants to win semi-finals. So the big result of the weekend, Michael, and we'd be glad you're here, is Dublin. What a performance by them. So their last 2 visits to Semple Stadium against Tipperary, and with Ger Cunningham and Anthony Daly as managers, 22-point and 14-point defeats. Yeah. So, like, I mean, there were 4 points up at half-time, and the Tipperary got it back within the first few minutes of the second half. And anyone watching that game live, it wasn't on television, you're going, well, this is done now. This is Tip with the wind. It's all over. So, like, I mean, for Dublin to have ground that game out, like, I mean, that's massive. We talked about that Thursday. Dublin need to make a stand here.
Oh, absolutely. And I spoke to a few of the lads at a wedding with them on Friday, and they left after the ceremony straight away. And they were mad up for it, Willie, and they sound real confident the way they're playing. They're loving training at the moment, and they're loving being under Matty Kenny. And
So does Matty Kenny do all the coaching? Does he do the training himself?
He does a lot of it. But they're just the game plan seems to be sinking in with them. And I spoke about it last week that they're a good matchup for Tip, because Tip don't like being run at, and this is all Dublin are doing at the moment. And that's why it was so hard to defend against Coola, because they go by the first tackle and then the pitch opens up for them, and they're so fit and fast. They're off the shoulder all the time. And Tip don't like playing that style. They like playing 1-on-1 and winning high ball over them. They don't like fellas running at them. And it was great to see, but the more important thing was when Dublin were with the wind in the first half, and when Tip came back and clawed it back within 3 minutes of the second half, I was worried myself, and I said, oh please, hopefully they dig deep. And they did. They showed unbelievable character, and that's the most important thing for Dublin going forward. And I think that's going to stand to them more than the victory itself, just that they didn't buckle under that pressure, because we have in years in the past, and there was a few poor years there going with Dublin, but I'm really optimistic with this panel. And even Oisin O'Rourke, who's playing in the corner, Oisin's been on the panel on and off for years, and again, it was a belief thing with Oisin, because he'd shoot the lights out in training non-stop.
Right.
Big games, you could see that belief wasn't there, but Matty's obviously instilled that in him this year, and he's having a great season with Dublin. And then you bring on the likes of Paul Ryan getting 2 points, Keane Boland coming on full forward getting 2 points. So they're showing strength in their panel, and they're bringing lads in. They're not getting any weaker, and it's great. It's really good and positive for Dublin at the moment.
Yeah,
it's great to see.
And Eamon Dillon's been it was a JJ compared him to Eddie Brennan last Thursday. Brian, it's about a manager's job. When we see it with Guardiola with City, we see it with Mourinho at United. A good manager makes players that might not have been good before him, makes them better. You know what I mean? And Matty Kenny is a renowned coach, very highly regarded. So it probably isn't a surprise what Michael's saying there, Brian.
No, certainly not. And Eamon Dillon's on the scene a while as well. Another man that's probably, without being disrespectful, blows hot and cold, because when he's good, he's absolutely excellent.
Has
and
good
then
leagues.
Anomalous in games, you know.
He seems to have good leagues, Eamon Dillon, and then doesn't do it in the championship.
Oh yeah, but do you know what I'm most impressed with is actually the spine of their defence. Like Owen O'Donnell and Sean Moran are excellent. Sean Moran obviously has shown more with Coola over the last couple of years. I was glad to see him go back in with Dublin then last year. He is phenomenal centre back. He's as good as what's around. And then Owen O'Donnell, again something similar. He scored a wonder pint, almost like the Rock O'Sullivan.
It was.
From 100 yards, it was a fantastic score. Opened up the shoulders and just let fly. But he's a brilliant defender. But their half-back line in particular, it's their launch pad at the moment. Obviously, Chris Cumby, a great man to get up the field and get a few scores. Sean Moore there, and I think that Darragh O'Connell there the other day, another live wire former Kerry hurler, Mark and myself, both at county and at club, and he's always breaking forward as well. So the speed of him is phenomenal from that perspective. So Dublin, they are looking good now at the moment. They've surprised everyone, winning 1B. I know it doesn't matter in the greater scheme of things, but still they did it. And I was critical of him a few weeks ago that he wasn't really starting his full team, and he was, he should have went for that Galway game in particular. But he seems to have timed his run pretty good, and they'll fancy their chances now on Sunday, and they'll really relish this task of taking on Limerick.
Talk to me a little bit about taking on players, and you're saying Tipperary don't get taken on, and I find from watching it, some of the defending I find in hurling can be very poor. That when men do take them on, like a simple sidestep and they're gone. Now is this a technical thing where in football you can actually get hands on and slow them up, where in hurling you can't tackle the man? So you're you're much more vulnerable at hurling with someone running at you than you are maybe at football. Is that?
Yeah, look. Is
there a reason why the defending, or is it just bad defending? I'm not sure.
It's not bad defending. You're seeing a lot of fouls these days, because the hurls coming up high, or like ending high now in hurling is a free straight away, whereas you used to get away with a bit more a few years ago. So and Dublin have pace to burn. So if you're very pacey, and the tip hurlers are brilliant hurlers, but they're bigger men and they haven't got as much pace. So if you're
a pace issue,
yeah, they definitely do. And if you're running at them with pace, and especially the way Matty Kenny likes to play, is you're never static. You're coming onto the ball at such pace. As a defender, it's very hard when someone comes onto the ball at pace you either run with them and try and time your flick, or you're going to hit them head on, and a lot of the time you're going to miss that challenge, because so many lads have a sidestep these days. So it's a foul then, and so they're going to win a foul or get a free. But what they do is, once you break that first tackle, the pitch opens up, because that man is free to run then 20 or 30 yards. Someone has to come meet him.
Yeah.
And once you come meet him, then it's either a ball popped over your head, and that's what he's all about. And then like, you're seeing the half back line, as Brian said, is so good there with Dublin. That like 4 points in play yesterday within your back line. Now, 3 of them are in the half back, and then Owen O'Donnell obviously. Like,
so is he encouraging players to take their man on all over the field rather than just forward? So a half back line, take him, go past him, open field, then
even the cornerbacks.
Really,
like you see, like Alan Nolan has hit cornerbacks non-stop, and like it's a dangerous game because if we get this possessed there, it's a goal on straight away.
That's a Cork tactic with O'Donoghue and Spillane. They go past their man, and suddenly they've got extra a man over. And
it just opens up that whole pitch for you, Willie. Like, you know, and it can break down, but if you have confidence in it, and both cornerbacks have to want the ball, both wing backs have to want the ball. And you've seen in previous years with us like that a cornerback would be pretending to want it, but no way, you're not hitting it to me. Yeah. But all the lads there want it, and they're really good at it, and they're getting used to it now, and it's working for Dublin, and it's very hard to defend against because like once you pass out that first man, there's nothing you can do really. You know, the next man has to come meet you.
I think that's a lot of modern hurling though as well. I think more teams are doing that. I think Limerick, Waterford, Clare, you know, even Galway yesterday really surprised me at that. Their ability to hold on to the ball, but it's driving forward, taking that 4 or 5 steps. And just going forward at every opportunity all over the field. But there is an old saying too about half back line not liking to face their own goal. You know, and that's one of the key things as a half forward is trying to break that line and turn the half back line and make them chase back. I thought Galway in particular yesterday were excellent at just running with the man that had the ball, 3 and 4 of them surround him, and not diving in, not putting in the hand where the Wexford players, you know, might be looking for that bit of contact. Not that even just, you know, looking for the bit of contact so they'll either be able to go down under the challenge or draw them into you so that you could offload the ball. And I thought Galway in particular really surprised me. Sorry, it was Saturday. And just staying with them, and eventually he has to play the ball, and they were there in numbers to take it off him. So I thought it was a real lesson. I thought it was something that they clearly worked on, and it really came to fruition against Wexford. So it's amazing that you're talking, Willie, your initial question about, you know, is it bad defending? You see, I think in hurling, if you break the challenge and you're going forward, you can score really from anywhere inside the 65-yard line the minute you break the tackle. Yeah. You know, in football you can get numbers back, and we can, you know, they have to really get into that scoring zone inside the D. Whereas in hurling, the minute you break that challenge, you know, good forwards are looking to shoot nearly straight away.
Yeah, maybe that's something to do with it. You did mention Galway. We'll get on to them in a minute, but quickly on Tipperary, they had 18 wides. But one of the big things jumping out at me was John McGrath was whipped off in the first half. Like, I mean, and I don't know, like, John McGrath this time last year was probably the foreign player in the whole country, and he brought it into the championship as well. Like, I mean, I don't know what the benefit is, Michael, of taking John McGrath off before half-time. He doesn't seem to me like a player who needs a kick up the arse. He seems to me like hurling is his life. He's not a type of player that needs it. Maybe Liam Sheedy sees it completely different. Liam Sheedy wouldn't have managed John McGrath before, so maybe they need to figure each other out, and you know, and kind of, I don't know.
Liam Sheedy could just be sending out a message, will he? You know, like if you're not playing well, I'm not giving you, like, if you have confidence in your panel, you're not going to give lads 45, 50 minutes anymore. It's if you're not playing well in the first half.
But
and
it could be a bit I always find the first half is just lousy.
Absolutely.
Like, this is just before half time. Like, I mean, this is embarrassing the fella rather than doing it in the dressing room. And we've talked about this before. This is almost like, I don't like you, buddy.
No,
that's wrong. No, that's wrong. It's not that. But do you know what I mean? It's on another level to giving him. Yeah. Maybe it's a message to the whole team. Maybe you're right.
That's
just
because he's such an important player for them. And look, he's a smashing hurler. And if it's not on form, maybe he's just sending a message saying, like, if it doesn't matter who you are and what name you are. Like, Dublin defenders hurled so well on Saturday. Like, Jason Ford got a point from play. Cannan got a point from play. It's very difficult to keep these lads low scoring like that, you know. And like obviously as a back unit, they hurled really well. Like Noel McGrath got 3 points from play, but apart from that, like the forwards didn't really weren't that cohesive and didn't score that much, you know. And Jake Morris is probably the standout forward for them this year at the moment. He got 3 from play, and he's a really good hurler. He comes across the line all the time. But like apart from that, like if you're keeping them forwards that low scoring, it's a really good day out for your back line. And like some days isn't your day, will you know? And John McGrath obviously just had one of them. They're not that usual, but I think it would more be a message sent out to the panel saying, no matter who you are, you're going to be taken off. You're not playing well.
Maybe that's it. What do you think, Brian? Is it a message, or is it like, is John McGrath just being used as a scapegoat?
It's hard to know. You see, when you weren't there and you didn't see the game, it's hard to call it, being honest.
That's true.
You know, you don't know the context. You know, John McGrath's phenomenal, as you said, and look, I think there'll be no fear of him. and he's really important to Tip. He can make something happen now and nothing. And I think it's important. But I back him to come back. I think Tip themselves are in a precarious position. You know, you mentioned 18 wide. They did only lose by a point, and it's all doom and gloom now. You know, but they clearly have an issue with tight games though. Like that is. There's no getting away from that. You know, okay, they blew Cork out of the water last week. Cork were terrible. Terrible. But any of these tight games, it just seem to be coming out the wrong size of them time after time after time, and like that's a malaise, and that can set in and can really creep inside your mindset. So it's something that Sheedy is going to have to rectify over the next couple of weeks. I think they need to get back and hurl a bit with the club. I think that's really important for nearly any county hurler at the moment, to just get off after the league and get away from the club for a couple of weeks, different perspective, and then be absolutely rare to get back into the championship, you know.
I was talking about this on the football show just there, that there seems to be a huge kind of appetite for making huge conclusions based on one game in both hurling and football. So Tip hammer Cork, Tip are back, Tip are All-Ireland contenders now Tipperary are terrible, Tipperary are going nowhere. Why can't you just say Tipperary were brilliant on the day against Cork? Now you don't have to go any further with All-Ireland predictions, or just say, geez, Tip, I do like Brian making a conclusion that tight games are an issue. There's evidence to support that, and last year's championship as well. But there's always seems to be, it's a feast or a fap. They're gone. They're going to win. They're gone. Like, I mean, it's tough
for the Tip hurlers, especially because the crowd are so, you know, they have to win the All-Ireland. That's an awful season. But like the Cork game for me, I couldn't trust fully because Cork were so bad all over the pitch. So for me, I know they hurled really well that day, but it came across like a training match for Tip. So I wouldn't have read into that game too much at all. The psyche that Brian's talking about, them close games, that's a big issue because it does creep in on you. And you know, when you're in championship and in the closing like 10-15 minutes and there's a point or two in it, that's when you're going to see like how much Liam Sheedy has put in now between now and championship, how much work they're going to have to put in. And as you say, sometimes it's good to shut off and go back with your club for a while and come back with that new psyche then. Like they're going to have to put like mentality work for Tip's the big one now for me.
But he needs to do some work. I'm trying to fight the urge to say Cork are useless this year because I know they're not.
No,
I know they're not.
No.
But then you keep seeing them in the league. Jeez, when are they going to snap out of this? And then you're like, stop. Concentrate on the league. Think of them last year in the championship. They were brilliant. Stop reading into this. It's
they are a championship team as well. You know, so it's
hard.
It's so hard to read into the league. You know, especially when there's nothing to lose, as you say. Like it's very hard to read into it at the moment.
It is. Just two quick ones there. There's only 3,500 at that Tipperary Dublin game, Brian, which is very, very unusual. Unless the Tip public thought that they would beat Dublin easily enough and they had bigger fish to fry. I don't know. I just was a bit surprised when I saw that. And Brendan Maher got a huge reception when he came back. He's only back from Cruciate, so he'll be a huge plus for Tipperary. Midfielder, wing back. Yeah,
it'd be interesting with the play. I might nearly play him wing back, being honest. He's very athletic as well, and could really, I think left half back, he could do a serious job there for them. I think they need to tighten up the backs. I think they need a little bit more pace. Poor crowd, but I just know I live right beside Tipperary. They would have expected to beat Dublin comfortable enough, especially after the week previous, and the crowd would have been holding off.
Holding off for Paddy's Day.
And you know, it's just not working out like that way at the moment. So but look, I heard a lot of people critical down in Waterford as well. There was only 2,500 in Walsh Park and all the big furore about them getting their matches. All the big furore about getting their matches back in Walsh Park, and you know they're flying at this league as well. And very impressive, and they had only 2,500 at their game. So,
jeez, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so there was because I just seen that on Twitter. A couple of people giving out like, where are all these fans? You know, they're clamouring for, you know, saying that 12,000 or 11,000 won't be enough for the Munster Championship, but 2,500 turn up.
Yeah,
you know, in the league quarter final. So.
That's a very fair comment. Jeez, that's poor stuff from Waterford. Maybe they decided, I'm going to one event this weekend outdoor in that weather, and it's the Patrick's Day Parade. That's what I'm going to go. That's what I'm going to go see. This refereeing thing, before we go into part two, we leave Galway and Waterford chat until part two. So Maddie Kenny had words with referee Patrick Murphy at half time because the free count was 12-3 in Tip's favour. Now, I was watching the Galway-Wexford game, and Davey was up in the stand, which he often does, and down at half-time he was down absolutely attacking the referee, verbally attacking him. The free count was 13-2 there in favour of Wexford, had given away 13 to Galway's 2. So And one of the funniest things watching that match was Davey absolutely lynches the referee. And the very first thing, what does the referee do to start second half? He gives a real soft free against Sean Murphy. It's like, oh Lord, I'd love to have seen the camera go back up to Davey. But anyway, so then Donald Maloney, this was in the Examiner, he was talking about some of the frees given in the Waterford Clare game wouldn't be given as frees in the Championship. He says the joint manager said that articulated a view that most GAA people hold. The Championship and League games are officiated differently, and in particular that a referee holds the reins a lot looser for a Championship match. I suppose, Brian, there's two things in this. There's how can two referees have the frees so skewed in one team's favour, and number two, how can a referee league and Championship different? I know that doesn't happen. I've never heard of that in Gaelic football. Maybe it's a hurling thing.
Yeah, no, it's not an official. I'd say he's just talking about it in general. They are referee different, and I agree with it. I think the general public would agree with that. Yeah. It's like, seriously, like, will you just let the game flow? That's the beauty of hurling, I think. And in Championship, we all say it. It's almost a throwaway statement. Sure, look, it'll be referee different during the summer, and it is the truth though. They just let the game go. There's none of this tipping and tapping. I saw, like, Peter Duggan got a yellow card yesterday, or Saturday, I keep saying yesterday. He got one Saturday for flicking the ball out of Kevin Moran's hand. And Kevin Moran just thought he'd lost the ball. Like, no one paid any attention to it. And next minute it's pulled back and it's a yellow card. Yeah. And you're just going, seriously, and he ended up getting a second yellow for what I don't know. But it had a bearing. Okay, in that particular game it didn't have a bearing in the game, but it could have a massive bearing on the game. And you're just going, that would never, ever, ever be a yellow card in Championship hurling, or the referee will be lynched.
Yeah, and what Conor Cleary's sending off was incredibly soft too. That was a straight red, was it?
Yeah, I'm glad you think it was soft, because I was just thinking the same thing. Look, I think he does what any good back does. He played down with the hurls to try and play. I think it was Stephen Bennett, either his hurl or his hand, and just was guiding it, and just bad timing, and just tipped him on the helmet, and that's all it was. There was no intent. When there's intent, there's no ferociousness with it. And okay, he tipped the top of the helmet. Sure, isn't that what the helmet's there to do, to protect your head?
It's true,
Sure, but it is forget about it if that's going to be a sending off.
Yeah, there was no force on that at all.
Nothing, and even it was a flick only, and if that starts coming into hurling, it'd be a joke, because the amount of times the defender goes up and because you're flicking a hurl and you're protecting your hand as well, so it's a natural thing for all
to come back down and bring your hurl with
you. Absolutely. And look, you're going to catch a fella, and Bennett didn't make too much of it either, and it was just like nobody wants to see that coming into hurling, because it'd be a joke, and the refs, they're dead right. Like, in Championship, there's so much more intensity to do it, and there could be a few rows before the whistle's even thrown in, and it's just expected. It fizzles out after 15-20 minutes and let the game play, and
but that's gas. That's what the helmet's there for. It's to protect for those minimal force kind of contacts that are not freeze, but you're wearing a helmet.
Well, like, back in the day when you didn't have to wear a helmet, you see all these lads with eyes split open. They weren't bad pulls or anything. They're all these flicks. As you're going by a player and they're trying to flick the ball, you're getting these little taps on the hair. That's what the helmet's there for. Like, otherwise you'd have scars all over the place. So there's no malice towards it whatsoever. So it was a joke for sending off. So,
but you very rarely see a stroke anymore.
Like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Not especially at inter-county level. You just can't. There's too many cameras. Just straight away. There's linesmen. There's umpires. There's very rarely a stroke pull like there used to be, and very rarely anyway people pull in the air anyway. So it's going up and protecting yourself and whatever. You'd see maybe an odd stroke in club hurling, all right. But not definitely at inter-county. It's few and far between, and I think they're sanitising the game way too much. I think that's the biggest gripe that hurling people have, and the football people. Can you stay away from our game, please, and stop worrying about how we're refereeing it? We're going grand, right?
I love the way a stroke is a euphemism. It's a lovely way of saying just trying to take someone's life, really. Like, so a stroke makes it sound so,
it's
God, wasn't that nostalgic, those old strokes? Right, okay, come here. We'll come back and we'll talk about Galway and Waterford. So Waterford are back, lads. Can we make that judgment? I'm just going to do what I was giving out about in the start. No, but all joking aside, Waterford were hugely impressive. 31 points against a team like Clare, and make no mistake about it, as this is a league quarter-final. Yeah. Surely we can read a little bit into this, in that this was both teams trying their very best with two strong teams out, and we can say that this was an incredibly impressive performance by Waterford.
Yeah,
Michael,
Fanning was playing it down after the game, you know, saying, look, it's league. But Clare wanted to win that game yesterday. There's definitely no doubt about that. And I thought they were so impressive. Like, it's hard to tell in 1B because the big games they have is Galway and Dublin. And they hurled really well against Dublin and Parnell Park, and Dublin just pipped them. But like, this was a real test for them. And they were dominant. Like, I know throughout the game they were dominant. And they had so many options and scoring options. And like, I know, I listened to Austin Gleeson after, and he says there's a real family feel to it. I know Derek McGrath built that, but now there's more expression in that team. Like, they're going out and they look like they're loving their hurling, and they're shooting over their shoulder, and there's shots that some managers might kill players for taking. Like Shane Bennett hit a 2 over shoulder from the wing that they might go over 1 and 10, and they both went over, and it just shows how confident they are in playing with each other. And there's little flicks going up the pitch, and the way they're playing, they're really impressive, you know. And and they've such a strong panel, which most people haven't spoken about this year. Like, they've lads coming in that are doing just as good a job as lads who started. So I think Fanning's going to have a job now playing it down, because I think they're really impressive so far this year. And they'll have another good belt off Galway now. It's going to be very interesting. But I think it's very positive for Waterford hurling going forward for Championship.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, they could do a highlights reel of spectacular scores from yesterday's game, Brian. Not just individual scores like Gleeson under the stand or Bennett that Michael mentioned, but team scores like Austin Gleeson's last one, where it went from Philip Matney to Barron, then to Dunford, then out to the wing to Gleeson. Some of the points, now they were nearly showboating at the end, Brian. These points were so spectacular.
Now, here's one for you. Should he throw that inside?
Gleeson,
he should have. He should have.
Yeah.
It's a certain goal. Yeah. It was a great score, but it's actually one of those ones.
Who was it? Mikey Carney gone in, was it?
Yeah. And you won't catch him too lively, let me tell you. He's a real live wire altogether. Well, yeah, you'd have been tearing your hair out if you were the man inside. But no, brilliant score. And the use of the ball was excellent. And Jamie Barron buzzing around the middle of the field. There was a lot of weight led in the fact that Austin Gleeson had a Roman role. I think the way, my take on that was, all 6 forwards were moving. The 2 Bennetts probably stayed inside a little bit more, but the rest of them, Pádraig Matney was moving everywhere. Mikey Carney was moving everywhere, rotating as far as I'm concerned. They're picking up one of the 3 positions in the half forward line, or if one fell in after a run, one would fall out. You see Galway at that the whole time as well. So, you know, the game has moved on a lot from that static, you know, everyone hurls in their one position, and I think, you know, you can read too much into it, and you expect your half back line or your half forward line to drop back as much as they can, particularly when there's strong winds, and you expect them to fall back into play, collect the ball, carrying it in, and delivering it when the man gets the opportunity. So, you know, I thought Austin Gleeson was excellent. I do believe wing forward is his best position, but I think it was a little bit played too much about this roving role.
Yeah, what do you make of Mike Carney at centre forward, lads? He was, I think his brother is on the management team, but he's combative and he's lively, isn't he? I'm not sure about the white socks that he likes to keep showing all the time, but that, like, a little bit of flash.
This from you, Wooly.
Yeah.
You'd rather wear no socks.
Ankle socks, yeah. I was gonna say.
I wore sports socks in a county final. I never wore them for Laois, but I definitely would be open to the suggestion.
Oh no,
Liam Rush.
Rushy tried blisters, yeah.
Liam Rush. But yeah, no, listen.
Now, please.
I know. Shocking.
But I do take Brian's point there. There was a lot of movement. It wasn't just Gleeson. And Gleeson was on the full forward line. The full forward line looked like it was the 2 Bennetts. Hogan, who I don't know much about, I thought O'Sullivan was the big name from Ballygunner, not Hogan. He seems to have gotten in there, but I'm no expert here. But, like, I mean, it was constant movement, and Waterford can play those short stick passes. The great thing about Waterford is they always had that skill. They didn't have options around the field because there were too many men behind the ball rather than in front of it, and they used to waste a lot of ball, giving it up to 3-on-2s and 4-on-2s.
Absolutely.
And now all those short passes are on 1-on-1s, which is fantastic to watch.
And with the 2 Bennetts inside, they're really good in the air, Willie. Like, they don't necessarily have to catch it, but just flicking it down to themselves, they're really good at it. I think the Gleeson thing was just because he ended up back in the full back line, probably more than the rest of them a few times, and getting the ball back there. But he has that fitness level to make it all the way up the pitch. And Jamie Barron really makes Waterford tick.
He loves this now, because he loves those little short passes.
And lads are giving it to him all the time. He's giving and going, and like, even if they're down a man because, say, Gleeson's back, he's up there all the time. Like, he's up there looking for goals. He's up there always supporting the forward line. So, like, they always have options, Waterford, and they can shoot from distance as well. So like at the moment they've so many options. Willie, it's very hard to defend against.
Like you have to remember here.
Very interesting. Sorry, now Willie, to come across.
Go on, Brian.
Considering the amount of free takers they have in the team, persistent with Stephen Bennett and giving him that confidence. He scored 14 frees yesterday as well, or Saturday, and it was brilliant showing from him. And like that, there's real pressure on you when you the other free taker, Pádraig Matney there, or Austin Gleeson. And there was a couple of times I thought this now spoke volumes. A couple of times frees on the half back line in midfield, and Austin Gleeson went over and grabbed the ball and threw it out front of him, and the players on the field told him to go away from it. So total change. No, but the total change in the way that things are being done. And Jamie Barron hit a lot of those frees where he was looking for players. So, probably in the past, if there's one thing I was critical of Derek McGrath, Ozzy ruled the roost. He took the frees, he took the sidelines, and everyone else, it was all about Ozzy, and he shot on sight. Well, you don't want to limit that too much. You still have to be, you're still only a cog in the wheel, and you have to be part of the bigger picture. So I actually thought that spoke volumes on Saturday.
Well, definitely, if that's the case, because that is a critique of Austin Gleeson, in that he's too much of a shoot on sight merchant. When it's not going for him, he can be a liability in that your forwards aren't getting any good ball off him. I thought the set move from a Jamie Barron free for Gleeson, like he was loitering around that full forward line. That was worked on. That was Paddy Marsh, Shamie Callanan. That's what that was. Like, I mean, if Pádraig Fanning is working on this kind of stuff, that's really optimistic for Waterford, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was great because the camera work for that, it showed Brown following Gleeson like all around that square. Like he had to shake him, and like he was still very tight on him by the time he got it. But it was a great ball in. It didn't bounce. Great ball into his hand, and it was just a great finish. And
the finish, he just whipped it,
smashing finish, like over your shoulder at pace, coming out onto the wing, and the conditions weren't great for hurling either. Like so, it's obviously something they've worked on, and you can see Gleeson now giving the ball to the man in the better position. He is going to shoot because that's the player he is, but they're definitely getting in on him now where give the ball to the man in the better position, and all the Waterford lads were doing that an awful lot, so it's really good. Brilliant
score, but was it not a little bit naive by Clare? Like that free is always going into that corner, especially against the wind. Your spare marker, sits in that pocket. You know that as well, Michael, better than I ever would. You know what I mean? I just thought that was very naive from Clare.
Right,
well, whoever's the midfielder on Jamie Barron who's taking the free, he should have been the man who stood just in front of that corner, because that's the only space where there is, and like obviously it didn't happen, but you're right, Brian, he definitely should have been in that position.
Yeah, maybe he should. But what did you make of Philip Matney at full back, Brian?
Yeah, look, another really talented hurler and can hurl anywhere, and it is something they need to sort out, because Barry Coughlin used to be there, was brilliant at his job. Never played the ball, never hit. I don't think I see Barry Coughlin hit the ball in his inter-county career. But when they had the sweeper, the likes of Tyke, the Burka, he was just brilliant at frustrating the full forward, playing the man all the time. And, it's just a total different dynamic now, because obviously your fullback needs to be able to do a bit of hurling, because he's going to have to go and, be strong in the air, but win that second ball, which is most important, because Barry Coughlin and Noel Connors were brilliant, just breaking it down, Tyke, the Burka, sweeping it upward. It's a different dynamic now. Noel Connors is obviously more than capable of doing that. Do you see the size of his legs?
I know.
Keane Healy is just incredible.
Yeah, that's a fact. Noel, he's a gas man. He's a lovely fella, actually, Noel. But just the size of his legs, Lord, if he gets any bigger, Lord God Almighty, he's like one of those boys that's the world's strongest men, lifting the Atlas ball up. But he's a beast.
Yeah, I nearly had a heart attack in Croke Park, because I was down waiting for them one day out at the buses, because I can't get in. I don't have an accreditation for radio, so I actually have to wait around the buses and just kind of try to stop them. But they all come out in shorts now. So the new thing now is they used to come back after a championship match in the glad rags when I was playing, but now you're
not allowed to bring jeans with you.
After $1 semi-final, these lads are coming back out in shorts and tracksuits. I'm like, Jesus, lads. But anyways, I saw his calves come out, and I was like, what? These are out of control.
The quads, I think. Jesus.
His calves are bigger than my quads.
That's the hard one.
Well, that's true. Listen, moving on. But, like, I mean, in fairness, when you look at the players they're missing here, Michael, so Conor Gleeson, the Fives brothers, and Tyke the Burka, they're three starters. That's now Conor Gleeson, that's your man marker, and the two Fives brothers, who are two brilliant players, and Tyke the Burka, who's probably be wing back on this team. And up front then, now probably none of them guaranteed starters, but Brian O'Halloran, Jake Dillon, Patrick Curran, and Tom Devine. Now, I don't know if all of them have committed.
And Rick Walsh only came on in the last minute.
Who? Brick Walsh.
He came on in the last minute.
He only came on in the last minute, but I was going to actually mention him. He got a great reception, him and
Brilliant.
Maurice Shanahan. But like, I mean, this is a serious.
Shanahan,
this is a serious squad altogether.
I spoke with the panel earlier, Willie, and it's sort of no one's been speaking about it too much throughout the league, and like it's a serious panel. And I think like when Derek McGrath left, people were sort of writing off Waterford because he was such a big influence on that team, and everyone was speaking about Derek McGrath. And he created this family atmosphere, but what Fanning's done is just letting them express themselves more. And you can see a few players doing interviews after yesterday speaking about how much they're enjoying playing under him and how much they're enjoying their hurling. And it's not so much this negative connotation of a spare man all the time. And like when you have them players to come back, like you're talking about 5, 6 starters there on this Waterford team who are playing so well at the moment. Like it's like they're definite contenders this year of how they're hurling at the moment. They're racking up such score lines, and their backs are doing so well without playing that spare man. So like there's not much negativity going on in Waterford at the moment.
There was a twinkle in Ken McGrath's eye last night.
Yeah, there was definitely.
Because what I think he loved about it was there was that little bit of just freedom about their hurling. Because I think that's what made that Waterford team of the noughties stand out, particularly their battles against Cork, and they just had a go, and obviously the great characters. But they can see that this team obviously has brilliant hurlers as well, and if they just bring in that little bit of spark that Waterford have as well, and the crowd will get behind them, and the world's their oyster. To be fair, it's really exciting from a Waterford perspective. But this Munster Championship is going to be a minefield, and we'll get to that another day, but it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. Pádraig Fanning said after game, we're delighted with the win. I don't know, everyone talks about this freedom, but we're making good decisions. Maybe that's it. Like, freedom is the obvious one. And like, I mean, you always have to be respectful to Derek McGrath as well, who took them to an All-Ireland final, but definitely what I can see from them now is options. The man on the ball has lots of options, and then they can let their hurling do the talking. Like what Pádraig Fanning said, we're making good decisions. Yeah. Good players will generally make good decisions if they have options to give it to. You know what I mean? And now they have options. That's the big thing. Absolutely.
And even the likes of Kevin Moore and back to wing back, I think that's his best position by a mile. He loved that, getting up the pitch, and before he was half forward, but he's always coming back down the pitch and working as a defender anyway.
The opposite way, yeah.
Now he'll have more freedom going up the pitch, and he is so good on the ball, and he's so good at giving the ball out as well, going up the line. Like, so I just think everything's working for Waterford at the moment, Wooly, so it's exciting,
Yeah, no, definitely. So
another thing, Wooly, it's not just a Waterford thing. The home advantage is massive. I think it's going to have a huge bearing on the Munster Championship in particular. Waterford having that 2 games at home, it's not to be underestimated, and I think most of the grounds now are becoming fortresses at home, and I think it really will open up a new dynamic from our perspective. And we spoke with this before. Derek McGrath a little bit disappointed in himself, even that they didn't push that issue a little bit more last year, but it wasn't just his call. But again, as I said, I think that's going to have a massive bearing.
It wasn't just that, and maybe they were crippled with injuries. And when you see the squad now getting the league, and Derek McGrath didn't have that luxury of having a league without relegation to be able to give all these, I suppose they were in Division 1B, so it didn't really make much of a difference. But when you see all the injuries last year and all the players out, maybe Pádraig Fanning is thinking, right, we need to test loads of lads out here, to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen again. Because it wasn't just a home advantage. The injuries destroyed them last year. I just want to talk about Galway quickly, and even Wexford, because this was a weird game. Like, I mean, scoring 3 goals like that from Wexford against the wind, you think, Jesus, they're in with a great chance here. There's no way Galway are going to outpoint them in the second half with that wind. And they did. They absolutely destroyed them. And Galway were brilliant with only half a team. Yeah. They've used the league really well for what they want. Wexford, on the other hand, Jesus, it's really black to the drawing board. Davy didn't know how to explain it. He says, I'd love to be able to tell you what went wrong. I just don't know. We're in control and we should have been 4 or 5 points up, but it has nothing to do with anyone except ourselves. Okay, Galway may have upped their game and they ran the ball a good bit and got space. I don't think we pushed up on them enough. So maybe that's the analysis there. And Brian, you touched on it. I think it was Brian saying that they ran it a lot more. So Galway, this is Davy saying Galway may have upped their game and ran the ball a good bit and got space. So maybe the Galway surprised Wexford in the second half, running at them, and Wexford weren't able to handle it.
Colin Mannion, I don't know, like, I love watching this fella hurl at the moment. He's unreal. Like, no one can get near him. He has to be early shout for Player of the Year, like, if he keeps up that form, because he's just phenomenal. Like, he gets on the ball, he's going by fellas like they're not there, and these are inter-county lads who are fitness machines, and he's just, and then his vision when he's on the ball. I think it was him that gave the ball to Brian Concannon that time, and it was one of the best goals you'll see, because it wasn't an easy option taken, and even for his own goal, he could have taken a point. And you can see that Galway mentality now, where they want goals. You know, like they could have taken a few points that time, and they want goals. And with the Wexford goals in the first half, if Dahi Burke, he was too busy getting a hurler getting a man the match yesterday in the football, but he was missed so much there in front of the goals, because like them goals wouldn't have went in if Dahi Burke was there. No, not at all. So like, Galway were really, really impressive yesterday, I thought. So and Colin Mannion makes them tick at the moment.
To Conor MacDonald goal, Brian, that was a thing of beauty and a bit more ground hurling. That was the thing of the past. And Conor MacDonald gave it to Colleen, and Michael has a point there. He wouldn't have been able to he wouldn't score 2 goals like that off Dahi Burke.
No, and give credit to Waterford management. They put McInerney back full back in the second half, and he quietened Conor MacDonald completely in that second half. The first goal, I know he pulled on it, but that should have been saved. Definitely. That went in harmlessly. For the family, very disappointed with himself there.
It looked spectacular though, didn't it?
Yeah, but look, it still should be saved. You know what I mean? But Conor, in fairness to him, I was critical maybe of the way Wexford played. They didn't get him into the game enough, and I don't think he scored nearly in the league, maybe a point or two coming into that game yesterday. But he turned it on for particularly in that first half yesterday against Galway. But you know, Wexford, you know, they're a funny team. We talked about them loads of times. They seemed really angry in that first half in particular. I know they were giving away a lot of frees, but they were mad for belting and hitting and really trying to, you know, bully Galway almost in their own patch. And I thought Galway just kind of looked at them as if they were a nine fly or something and just swatted them aside. You know, so Galway really impressive. But as Michael said, Cathal Mannion in particular, his ability to see passes when he wants to see them, or goes through the centre. And really impressed with that Brian Concannon as well. I know Damien's been talking about him a bit. His vision for that ball he hit across Davy Glenn should have finished that, being honest.
But that was like, and you give out about football a lot. That was actually a football pass. That was a point that was on for a hurler from 45, a tap over point, and instead of tapping it over, he gave a diagonal pass. Like, you just don't see passes like that in hurling, Brian. When a point,
cannot try and claim a football.
That was a football pass. It was a football pass.
Funny. We're going to have to disagree on this one.
Listen. All the good things about hurling now are all off the shoulder support runs.
Footballers are bad hurlers.
That might be true, but at the same time, hurling is looking across at the football tactics. And they're taking them all, and now you're all raving about what we've been doing since.
No wonder we're giving out about these sweepers and everything.
Football snobbery.
But that Concannon pass though, that was beautiful.
That was incredible.
Whoever you want to say it, you don't see enough of that in hurling, because usually 9 times out of 10 a player's taking his point there, especially a fella like Concannon who's not guaranteed his place. That was just beautiful.
And even as a in the full back line, well, you're not expecting it, because when a fella gets the ball 45 yards out, he's going for point every time. So. Like, it shows if you're playing against Galway now, you just have to be so tight in your full back line, because they will pick that pass. If you leave them 5 yards off you, they will pick it, because it showed that mentality yesterday of they want goals. Yeah. And they could have easily got a few points yesterday, and they went for these goals. And like, goals win games. You've seen it with Kilkenny over the years. Like, and if you get them goals, and if Brian was playing on the full forward line and you had Colin Mannion out the pitch or Park Mannion, they find these lads all the time. It'd be a pleasure to play in that full forward line. Because they're lads, if you make the space yourself, they will find you. Yeah. So it must be a pleasure to play in front of.
They really turned on the style, Galway, in fairness. Like, I mean, it's definitely a great time for hurling. They're all playing this sensational brand of hurling. Yeah, don't know if you spotted Concannon just before that great ball, Brian. Niall Burke should have given him a pass, and he went bloody mad in the 6-yard box. He went ballistic, and I'd say Burke just probably didn't see him. But Concannon seems to be a real playmakery type of player that, like, would have expected Burke to have seen him there, and then was able to give that ball. Like, I was very impressed with him, just maybe his brain and his playmaking ability.
Yeah, no, really impressed with Concannon. I thought the Niall Burke situation was one of those situations. I've been there myself, where you're dying for a score. You're absolutely, I need to score. I'm in full forward. rounded his man, probably saw the pass in the corner and said, nah, feck it, my front is over.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, put the hand up. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
should have
yeah.
given it. And you know him deep down. No,
I saw him the whole
God, he
time.
got that over the bar.
But generally on a happy panel, Concannon's reaction there was wrong. Like, he shouldn't be putting pressure on Burke like that. Like, I mean, I think if you have a happy panel, these lads just accept this. And it's like, do you ever get told with your manager about body language and about, say, what I used to do a lot, if I missed a score, I'd fuck you.
Yeah,
You know, I'd go.
yeah.
And like I was told once, stop doing that. That's not helping your team. It's helping the opposition. You're going to have to use your head and stop. Pretend that didn't bother you. And I'm like, but that's not me. I can't. Like,
No, and I wouldn't be one for it either. Like, if especially because the way they look like they're working on it in training, looking for that pass. So maybe if they're working on it and he didn't get it, he would be tick. And I don't mind a fella getting tick, because next time Burke is going through, he's probably going, I'll pass this one. Do you know, we'll open him up to, I'll find him next time, you know.
Yeah.
And if you're forward and corner forward, it's about getting goals and scores, well, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I wouldn't mind getting shouted at the odd time, you know.
It's a sign of the young man, to be fair to him, to be actually throwing a strop like that.
Yeah.
You know, it shows he's very comfortable in his own skin there within that panel. And that to me spoke volumes as well. You know, because usually a young player would be like, yeah, he should have got it, but sure, look, he's only a young fella. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Willie. I wouldn't be able to hold my counsel in that. Well, it wouldn't bother me. I know I should score, so I'm giving out to myself. And it's like, look, the way I always look at it, if you're getting chances, that's the big thing for me. If you're winning ball and you're getting chances, I'll give out to myself for missing that one, but I know you'll rattle the next one. So
yeah, that's the thing. I always used to admire. I think it was like Chris Conway could miss a score and he just jogged back out like almost like a golfer. You miss a par putt, you go on to the next tee. I'd be hockeying the next tee box out of it in golf, saying I wouldn't be able to get that miss putt out of my head for about 4 holes.
I was all right though. I could hide it a bit. But,
could you hide it?
Yeah,
after
I could.
a
But
mistake?
like my younger brother would be the opposite. Like, he'd just be a lunatic, you know, and shouting at me and shouting at everybody if things didn't go right.
Yeah.
I don't think you should hide who you are. Once it's not having a major negative impact on the pitch,
Yeah.
everyone understands. If you miss a score, you miss a tackle, you're going to get a bit tick, and that's all right.
Yeah.
You know, once
But
it's not
that's the thing.
constant.
But like, look, you could talk all day about this, Brian. Another thing, like, say if I was in a full forward and I made a good run and I wasn't picked out, and the game plan was around, you know, making sure you hit the full forward line, I'd start shouting at your man, didn't give it to me. Now, they'd know me well enough now to just ignore me.
Yeah.
So I'd keep shouting at him until he could get my attention, so to be ignoring me. I wouldn't let this go until this fella listened to me saying, why did you, like, this could be 15 minutes later and I'm scolding him for
I'm bad, but I'm not that.
No, yeah.
Oh, there'd be lads who used to be afraid not to give me the ball. But anyways, listen, right, we've enough of that. We'll be back with Paddy Power Paddy Power performance of the weekend. Okay, Paddy Power performance of the weekend. The obvious big one, lads, is Colin Fennelly. When he's on that kind of form, Michael, like you said, you've marked him. He's not a great striker. And even his goal, the first goal, he didn't, like, Cathal Mannion's putting that away probably because he's a brilliant wristy striker. Colin Fennelly's just a big, powerful man. I don't want to take away from him. Probably his weakness is striking. Would that be fair? Everything else, he's just really difficult to mark.
I'd actually agree with you, Woody, because the odd time he might even get away from you and he might misstrike a ball. But it's just, when I marked him before, he was athletic, but he wasn't that big physically. And watching him yesterday, he was so dominant when he got the ball, and he was shrugging fellas off, and we were big lads.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that he was so direct, you know, and he was a bit unmarkable.
He's always direct,
yeah,
isn't
he was
he?
a bit unmarkable yesterday because, well, see, when he's in the half forward line, he gets to run at you with real pace, but in the full forward line, once he turns his man, it's goal, and he seems to be relishing that there, like, because yesterday when he was getting the ball, he was just turning and it was either fouling them or scoring, and he couldn't. The lads had no other option because there wasn't enough numbers around him. For that, for the size of a man, you need about 3 lads around him to stop him without fouling him.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult for the Thomas's lads. So I thought he was brilliant yesterday, and hopefully he can take that form to Kilkenny, because haven't seen him dominate like that in a long time.
Yeah.
He's a bit hit and miss, and like if I want to see him bring that dominance to Kilkenny, because I think with that form he'd be so dangerous, you know.
That's the thing. Maybe it's consistency with Kilkenny, Brian, because I definitely remember him destroying fullbacks at intercounty level with performances like that, but maybe not backing it up.
Yeah, consistency will be an issue, but one thing, in fairness to Fennelly, he prides himself under his work rate as well. And for a couple of years there, he was Kilkenny's top man for hooks and blocks, and Cody used to have him as the pinnacle of trying to get all the other players up to that level. So that was huge. But his goal yesterday, I can't not talk about that. The forward in me, the Damien Quigley-esque goal. Don't know if you might remember this one, Wooly, but Michael might. Limerick 90 and Offaly 94. Damien Quigley scored a spectacular flick into Croke Park, the Hill 16 end, similar. But Felly's goal yesterday was brilliant, just like that. Maybe not as exquisite as Damien Quigley's one, but still, it was a great flick on the ball to change the trajectory of the ball. And it just shows how dangerous it can be when a ball goes in there. It should have been a routine score from Adrian Mullen, hilariously. Yeah. But, he made something out of it, and it really was brilliant. But yeah, Fennelly, actually, I agree with both. He can be hit and miss, particularly in his striking. But when he's on form, he's almost remarkable. I remember in the league, I think it was a semi-final against Tipperary down in Nolan, or maybe it was a group game against Kilkenny, Nolan Park, and he scored something like 3-6.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and look, when he turns it on, he's awesome, and he's very, very hard to hurl. But as you said, maybe it's that consistency issue that he needs to get that back into his game. So he'll be a big plus for Kilkenny, because he allows them to go route one as well, which obviously Cody likes to. Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt he'll be full forward and TJ will be back centre. Then where do you put Walter Walsh? But I saw one or two people on Twitter saying he didn't mean the goal. Like, I mean, he absolutely meant that.
100%.
It was even the direction that his hurl went after he hit it. He flicked it back. Yeah, his hurl went back. Like, I mean, so that's just nonsense. Yeah, it was a brilliant goal, all right. Yeah, and actually, I don't remember that goal. I do remember the most important part of that game, Brian, which was the last 5 minutes, which is really all you...
Hey, something to cheer about. Watching our Hurling goal and TG Catter. Oh, Jesus.
Adrian Mullen, lads. Now, this is interesting, Michael, that I said to JJ about Adrian Mullen, and JJ played down Adrian Mullen. Now, maybe he's been the cute Kilkenny player, but I tended to believe him. He was saying that this year's probably a year too early for him. On yesterday's evidence, he's all the, like I said to JJ, he's big enough, he's skillful enough. Like, what's stopping him starting? And JJ was of the opinion that he might not do it this year. Jesus, if they've a better wing forward now, that's club level, obviously. I mean, but I'd be saying to him, you're our wing forward, and I'm saying you're my wing forward for the next 10 years, and you're starting this year. Like, he wasn't slow, Cody, to put Shefflin in there or any of these lads when they were good enough.
Oh, well, he's definitely going to be in there now between here and Championship, Willie. So it depends on how he's performing in training. But like his pace, his composure, especially that one on the right wing towards the end of the match where he took on 2 or 3 lads, turned inside, left them for dead and slotted over the bar. And I actually heard Shefflin shout twice. Adrian straight over the bar, it wasn't shoot, it was straight between the posts, and his shots were so accurate, and he came off the right twice, he came off the left twice, and just his pace and his composure for a young lad was and he's a brilliant striker. He strikes through the ball rather than hitting it up high. Strikes through the ball, takes the wind and everything out of it, and he's just I was really impressed, because I wouldn't have known too much about him before that game apart from listening to JJ, and he'd definitely be in there. It's just how he performs between now and Championship and Kilkenny training.
In the training,
and if he hurls well, Cody'll have him in there.
That's it. Like, I mean,
the thing with Adrian Mullen is he is coming for a while now. Kieran's phenomenal underage talent for Kieran's, but I think JJ is looking through the lens of this unbelievable Kilkenny team that he was on, and like they were able to leave the likes of TJ Reid on the line for a couple of years,
Richie Power,
Richie Hogan, Richie Power. Like
Larkin.
Like I was watching that 0-9 All Ireland you were mentioning. I was only watching it the other day, and like Michael Fennelly replaced Derek Ling middle of the field, and TJ Reid replaced Taggy Fogarty corner forward. And you're just going like, look at this. Later on 2 hurlers of the year, and you're just going, it was phenomenal what they had. So maybe Jade is just kind of looking through that lens, going, Mullen, not sure if he's up to that just yet. But for the other Kilkenny forwards, for what you can see who's starting at the moment, no disrespect to them, like I think he has that little bit of class. He can score at will, left and right. So I agree with you. But look, same as any intercounty setup, it will matter what happens in training over the next couple of weeks. But they're going to have to go play a club match now in the next couple of weeks as well. The first round of the 2019 championship will be starting soon enough in Kilkenny too.
Yeah, Jesus, that Kilkenny forward line. So you're going to have TJ Reid, you're going to have Walter Walsh, you're going to have Colin Fennelly, you're going to have Mullen, you're going to have Richie Leahy, Richie Hogan,
Martin Keoghan
probably would be behind all those. Like, I mean, Who'd you say? Oh, Billy
Billy
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah. All of a sudden, these Ballyhale lads,
ridiculous.
like, I mean, when you think of it, when you're getting your number 11 and number 14 back, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
that's just on another. It's just a different ball game completely. Joe Canning got man of the match in the Galway game. Jizzy was all over the field. Really seems to add it, like, nearly dropping back too far, I would say, because what he ended up doing, dropping back that far, brought Matthew O'Hanlon up that far, who set up the 2 goals. So, like, you'd be saying at half time to Joe, stop bringing Matthew O'Hanlon, like, I mean, stop coming back so far. He scored 15 points, he got 14 frees, only missed 1 free, and these weren't just frees where you're tapping him over. These were frees from his own half, a lot of them.
Blustering wind and wet ball.
Yeah.
It was incredible achievement.
So I'm confused about Joe's role. We know at centre forward he likes that now. That's his role. He's a free role there. Is he going back too far now? Like, I mean, we know he dropped back into midfield, and I'd say that's okay, but I'm not sure I want him back any further than midfield.
I wouldn't want him either. You know, he's setting the tempo there for the forward line of work rate. Like, you've seen that in the Sunday game. Like,
and that's what
how
leaders
many
do.
hooks and blocks he got, and he went back. And I know Matthew O'Hanlon was very good at going forward at the end. That's the bad side of it. But he is setting the tempo for that forward work rate. Like, and you need that in All-Ireland champions. But the problem is he got the ball once or twice and hit the ball back to where he should have been, you know. And I'd let him go back towards the half-back line, but I wouldn't want him going any further, really, because you need him up there, and he's such a good scorer forward. I think there was a bit of cat and mouse there between him and Matthew. Definitely.
Wexford and Galway, I think it was the whole trying to counteract the Wexford style, and Matthew Hanlon with the week before, and Walter Walsh just dogged him into the ground and followed him everywhere, and he was obviously going to try and do the same with Joe Canning. So I reckon there was a little bit of chess going on there, and they were trying to see, look, if Joe comes out of that space, I know Kevin Foley's there, but might create avenues for the likes of Cottle Mannion to burst through the centre. So I think there was a little bit of that going on as well.
Right, okay, maybe there was, because in general though, Brian, you don't want Joe back inside his own 45.
No, and I don't think look, there's times you do need to filter back and help out your half back line, but I think there was a little bit more going on to it the other day.
Right, okay. Austin Gleeson, we've mentioned him already, lads. Every single one of his points was just Austin Gleeson can't just score a normal point, can he? Like, I mean, we're not even mentioning the one he scored. Right, so the one under the stand that he whipped, that was spectacular. His very last one was spectacular.
Brilliant.
Then he got the puck out that just, he won the breaking ball and just stuck that over his shoulder. Then there was another one from the far sideline. Like, I mean, if they can get him into a position. Now, here's the thing about Austin Gleeson, because I disagreed with League Sunday last night, because they're like, oh, just give him a free roll, and the other team doesn't know what to do, man mark him. Sure, Cork showed last year, they put Stephen MacDonald one game on him in the All-Ireland semi-final, they put Colin Spillane the other day on him, and they followed him and completely marked him out of the game. So he started centre forward, but he was being man-marked by a corner back, and Gleeson didn't like it at all. So just because Gleeson plays well then yesterday, suddenly they're making up this whole new thing that was completely disproven last year. Because here's the thing, and I know this from playing Gaelic football, and it has to be similar. If you're playing a free role and a corner back is marking you, it's a nightmare.
He doesn't care about touching the ball.
He doesn't care about touching the ball. And you don't get those handy little balls that you get, because every time a player looks up, they see you being marked.
Absolutely.
So it's like a disaster. So whenever I was told you have a free roll and a cornerback followed me out, I'd be like, I'm going back in, because I'm going to get nothing handy out here.
Absolutely.
Because when you're getting a free roll, you're looking to get on handy ball, really, like, and you don't get that. So I thought that analysis was all wrong last night, Michael.
Yeah, like the way he was beating that last night, he was coming onto the ball with such pace, like, he's like off the shoulder, sprinting onto it. So even if the cornerback's with you, and he's so pacey, Austin Gleeson, he was getting them a few yards away, and then he's so good under pressure at taking scores. It's brilliant. But it's not going to work from every day, because cornerbacks are so speedy these days, and they don't want the ball, and they just watch him. So like the way to counteract it for me was leave him wing forward and put the ball on top of him. Cornerbacks aren't great in the air, and he's so good in the air.
He's good in the air, yeah.
I'd leave him there. Like, I really would. Like,
so if they want to put the corner forward on you, we'll find a way of exploiting that change.
Like if I was managing him and I said that, like, he's not getting the space on the pitch, I'd be saying to him, go back to wing forward and we'll puck the ball high on you. Yeah. Because he's so good in the air and he will beat most cornerbacks to it. Leave him that 10, 15 yards. He'll get on the breaks himself even if he doesn't catch it, and he will do damage. So like, if I'm managing him, that's the way I'll do it, because he is going to be man-marked and targeted every game. Yesterday he was managing to get away from Shane O'More a good few times with his pace up and down the pitch. Like, Shane O'More was close all the time, but he just couldn't catch him because he's so fast. But again, he's not going to work like that all the time, because he's going to be the other time you're going to have two people on him. So it's difficult, but That's how I'd counteract it with the
Yeah,
whole
no, that's a good. That's definitely a good point, Brian. What do you think of that? Because the cornerback thing has been tried. It's not rocket science now. I've forgotten his first point, which was the one from the impossible angle coming onto the play. But like even the set play, like that's a way. Obviously, Fanning's thinking we need to get Gleeson into the game. We're guaranteed a lot of frees around midfield. Their ways will get him in, because you don't want your talisman marked out of a game. You know, they're trying to obviously find ways, and I take Michael's point on the puck out. It's a good one, that if you want to put a little sticky corner back on Gleeson, let's exploit them some other way.
Yeah, definitely, and play to his strengths, and obviously he is able to catch. He's unbelievable catching in the air. So he destroyed Kilkenny in that All-Ireland semi-final in Thurles a couple of years ago. So Gleeson can hurl it anyway. It's getting that, from his own perspective, it's getting into that mindset where it doesn't actually matter to him who's marking him or if he's been marked tight, because if he can get into that mindset, it really doesn't matter. So obviously Joe Canning's used to it, Peter Reid's used to it from time to time, and it's just getting yourself above that where it just doesn't matter. But I actually think it's that rotation policy is just as important as the fact that give him a free roll, and the fact that still the other players have to keep an eye on who's where, and there's no panicking. So I would keep him to the wing, puck ball down top of him, and let him move outward then, and just it can be a really good tactic. But obviously Paul Matney got 5 points in play as well.
Yeah.
So you can't forget the importance of that too. They're a complete unit when they have everyone firing.
They definitely do. 10 from play from Gleeson and Matney on the two wings.
The big thing,
by the way, without taking from him for a second, Shane Murray's first game back in League Two.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough enough to get back to the pitch of things without coming in and marking like a former hurler of the year, let me tell you.
and if Waterford can get to the stage where Austin Gleeson not playing well doesn't have a huge effect. Like, in the years gone by, if Austin Gleeson wasn't playing well, Waterford were done. But now they're looking like if the 5 forwards that are firing and he is being man-marked and can't have a big influence in the game, and they can still win, which I think they're at now. It's a huge positive for Waterford. And like as you said, with Mahoney and the Bennetts all scoring so well, he doesn't have to be that big influence all the time now. So
yeah,
it's important for Waterford.
No, it is. It is 31 out of 34 scoring chances. Waterford took a phenomenal stat, absolutely phenomenal, especially with the weather. Stephen Bennett got 16. We've kind of covered him a little bit. Cottle Mannion got 1-2. I'm a fan of Cottle Mannion a long time. Brilliant. Like, I mean, especially now when the whole thing, midfielders who hate marking each other and just like, I'll take you on, you take me on. That suits him a lot better than the likes of a Paul Murphy bloody chasing him around, which is what eventually will happen against a good team, and Murphy's done well on him a couple of times, hasn't he?
Very well. So
like Cottle Mannion now will never have to worry about, or maybe when you're playing Galway now, you have to pick 7 backs and one wing back plays midfield to mark Mannion. Like, I mean, is that the level that he's
getting so dominant? Well, you're going to have to put a marker on him. Like, you can't leave him free around the pitch. But again, he's so good at getting off a shoulder. It's very hard. Your fella has going to be a flyer to stay with him throughout the game. So I think it's going to be very hard to counteract him throughout the game. But you can't leave a free player midfield. Like, let's see who scores better, because at the moment no one's going to beat him.
Yeah, there's only one winner there.
Absolutely.
Brian, what do you think, Cottle Mannion? You'll have to play a wing back in there on him.
Yeah, you have to definitely, or a defensive-minded midfielder. Definitely, that's just his role is just to try and counteract Cottle Mannion, because the amount of hurling that he's doing, you can't have that game of chess or game of cat and mouse with him. You have to stick someone on him. Like, imagine the likes of him and Tony Kenny marking each other. It'd be some free for all.
Shane Golden would be the man to mark him, I'd say, if they
exactly,
because he's just that workhorse and he's a fit man, like, and he has pace, so it'd be tricky to lose him now in Championship.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I'm going to give it to Austin Gleeson only because every single point was it's just spectacular in its own right. I think he's the most. Tony Kelly's a brilliant player, but he just doesn't have the X factor that, like, Tony Kelly will be good 9 times out of 10. Austin Gleeson might be good 6 times out of 10. But Tony Kelly can't do what Austin Gleeson does. He doesn't have the flair, and maybe it's a personality thing. You know what I mean? Would Tony Kelly ever get a ball under the stand and whip it the way Gleeson did? No, Tony Kelly always runs at the goal and throws it up high.
He's a smashing hurling of Tony Kelly. He's brilliant, but it's just Austin Gleeson. Sometimes you just don't know if he knows what he's going to do next.
I don't think anyone in the game of hurling has what Austin Gleeson has. Do they? Like the point he got against Cork, where he just slid in on his knee and tapped it up. I've never seen, and the goal obviously against Cork. Like, Brian, has there been a player that like Austin Gleeson that is just a everything whenever he does something good, it seems to be completely spectacular.
Yeah, phenomenal. Now, this probably comes back to, you're a showman, obviously, Willie. And I'd say you'd pick Ronaldo over Messi then as well.
No. Jesus. That's sacrilege.
I know. Ozzy is absolutely class. It's just trying to find that happy medium, I think, from Waterford, and I think if they can do that, I think that can be the difference for Waterford. It's not trying to limit his game, but just bring him back that little bit more into a team player. He's phenomenal. But you're right, he can do stuff on the field that just no one else can do, and he's the ability to strike off both sides and the length of his strike, so he can score points from 70-80 metres just at his ease. And obviously, we haven't even seen him hit sidelines there the other day. So, he can just do everything.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
Definitely can. So Austin Gleeson gets Paddy Power performance of the weekend. Congratulations to him. Right, that's all we've time for. We'll be back on Thursday and we'll preview the 2 league semi-finals. And we'll talk to you then. Good luck.